I think growing up playing in bands and stuff, I know how to hold a microphone, but
Yeah, you'd think so. But I do think there's a whole lot of stuff I would know that I don't.
fair enough.
Alright, we're live. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just sitting here drinking a good beer. Oh, yeah, hang out with you.
Hey, how's it going? So what you been up to today? It's Sunday. I actually went to church this morning, believe it or not.
Nice. I did as well.
I've been waiting all day to tell you about that.
Nice. Okay. Saving it for the. Okay. I did go with your parents.
So,
Where do they go to?
Remnant. It's called Remnant downtown.
Okay.
Shout out Remnant Church downtown.
Shout out.
I don't know, but yeah. Where do you guys go now? In Mechanicsville.
Song United Methodist Church.
Cool. Up in Mechanicsville.
Up in Mechanicsville.
Nice.
Yep. I played in the band today. That was pretty fun.
Cool.
It's nice. Don't get to do it quite as much as I used to since got a kid and all now. So
Yeah.
a little bit limited on time.
Nice. So we are joined here today by my good buddy Chandler Alred, manufacturing engineer at Cubica AMF, right?
That's me.
And yeah, he just said so. He just recently had a child, his firstborn son. I don't know if you want to say his name.
His name is Atlas.
Atman.
Pretty cool dude.
Yeah, Atlas. He rules. Is a smart, cute little kid.
He's smarter than me already, man.
Yeah.
Smarter than me already.
How old is he? He's like almost a year. No,
8 months.
Okay, and so 8 months is currently.
Yeah, he was 8 months.
April.
Last week. Yep, April. He's a pretty cool dude, man. Definitely been a pretty different life since.
Yeah. One of the chillest babies I've ever met. He just hangs out. He doesn't really. I've never really heard him cry ever. I don't even think I've ever heard him get loud.
Yeah, he does it a little more now that he's.
You're also around
growing
more
up.
than me.
That's fair. Every once in a while, I hear something. Yeah, no, he is a really cool kid. I think definitely pretty cool being able to like see some of my kid's personality come out, seeing the things that he got from me. Good and not good, but we'll I guess see more about that when he starts to grow up a little bit more and starts backsassing me.
That's so cool. It's pretty. Look, I'm getting a little left behind, but it's pretty tight seeing all my friends like having their kids and stuff, and then just being able to see their little personalities and stuff as they're still babies, and then just being able to see my friends like I can see them in their kids. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, that's really cool.
So anyway, so man, I just wanted to thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having a good excuse to drink a beer.
Definitely, yeah. I figured it was just kind of a chance to catch up and see what you have been getting into lately. But this will probably be dog shit. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey, in theory, it's at least 50% my fault if it goes poorly.
That's a good point. I can blame you. I can blame my guests entirely.
If this ends up being your first one, you can just call it the pilot episode.
This could be the first and last. So
whoa,
no pressure.
No pressure.
No, but I mean, we'll probably just put them out there, and then if it sucks, it sucks. If not, it'll get better over time. So,
am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah, absolutely. We're saying it.
What made you decide to do a podcast?
I wasn't prepared. Let's see. I don't know. I mean, honestly, for my real job, I drive around a lot. And so I pretty much listen to nothing but podcasts, audiobooks, and music all day. And I mean, the guys that I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, and they just seem to have so much fun, literally just hanging out like this with their friends. And then not that I want to do this, but they monetize it. I mean, they're just hanging out with their friends and making content. And that's kind of something I've always wanted to do. And then like, I've also been thinking a lot lately too about like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
Sure.
I want to do something that kind of matters. I want to do something not that this matters, but like I want to do something that...
Hey, it matters to me, man.
Yeah. I want to do something that like kind of... I like stories and I'm a sucker for a good story. So I like talking to people and just kind of getting to know my friends better than I already did, and then just kind of getting to introduce them to other people. And if other people, I don't know what my friends, like I know you're a manufacturing engineer. I don't know what the hell that means. As far as I know...
Sometimes I don't either. So.
As far as I know, it means you're good at math, which I know you are.
Fair enough. But a lot less math than you think.
See, I'm upset about that, because there was one point I wanted to be an engineer, and I wasn't able to because I was bad at math. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to have to talk to somebody about that. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I got the idea from, is kind of, and listening to, obviously, Theo Vaughn. He interviews like people, and he's pretty funny and gets I learn something from it most of the time. and he's pretty interested in like people's careers and what their backgrounds and stuff like that. Same with Rogan, he does the same thing.
Right.
So I wanted to do something like they do, and then I also listened to you know, Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker. They have a podcast called Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. It's pretty great. And
Nice.
again, yeah, it's just this best friends hanging out, just kind of shooting the shit and kind of talking about life. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. So
seems like a good time so far. And I mean, you and I both being musicians, we kind of got got that just making and doing, like just putting out a product.
Yeah.
That's something we got in our blood, you know. So,
yes, I 100% agree. That actually, you just reminded me too. That was one other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is I think I'm 29. I think you just turned 29 in July. Next year's a big 30. I have realized. So growing up, I guess let's kind of talk a little bit about like how we know each other. So we met each other like first grade, kindergarten, somewhere around there.
I think it was first grade probably.
Yeah, I think first grade is when we became friends. But like I knew who you were in kindergarten. I was like, I'm staying the fuck away from that guy.
Justified.
But no, so yeah, first grade I think is when we became like good friends. And I forgot where I was going with this, so we'll have to cut this part out. And what were we just talking about?
I talk about when we met each other in first grade, and let's see, were we in the same first grade class? You had Miss Easter, right?
No, I had Miss Easter at first, and then I had Miss Easter at first.
You both did.
Okay, and then they switched me to Miss Ashbrook. Really? So you were in my class?
We were
and
both
then...
in the same class.
Ah,
and
okay.
then we were both in the same class again. We were both in Ashbrook, yeah.
So okay, and then wait, what? So they switched me out, and then they switched you out?
Yeah, I think it was like the first week.
Okay.
Miss Ashbrook came around.
So this actually reminds me. You know how we actually met was I think in between maybe kindergarten and first grade.
Okay.
When we did Cub Scouts
at
that little church, not Providence,
Yeah.
that other little church off of off of Courthouse.
Yep, right off the courthouse right there by
Yeah.
the white. I don't remember what that church was called, but yeah, man. That isn't
And
it?
I think our dads met first or something. And
Yep.
that's how. So like when we went into first grade, I was hyped because I was like,
Yes.
CJ will be in my first grade
Yes.
class, and then I
Oh
got
my
switched
gosh.
out, and I was like, no. And then I think they switched you in or something.
Yeah, so I think they kind of didn't do it all at once, but yeah, I ended up in Miss Ashbrook's class with
Yeah.
you. I think we're probably on opposite ends of the class. And that's why and then who'd you have for second?
Schrotenbauer?
Okay. And then we weren't in the same class again until fourth grade then.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So because I had Miss Blanks for third grade.
Yeah.
We also had this conversation over text a couple weeks ago. Do you remember? It was maybe months ago actually at this point.
Did we?
Yeah, I asked you. I was like, hey, you remember who I had for my fourth grade teacher? Because I
Yeah.
couldn't remember Save My Life. And
Miss Wines. Yep.
yeah, that's right, Miss Wines. Sorry, shout out Miss Wines.
Gosh, I remember in that first grade class do you remember that kid Abdul?
Yes, I was just talking about him the other day to my mom actually, and I said that the one thing I remember about him is that in first grade, maybe second grade, I brought in a picture of a cow named Squirrel, and this cow named Squirrel was crazy. Had a fifth leg growing out of the top of its head.
Whoa.
And so I took a picture of it and I brought it in for show and tell. And
it's amazing.
Abdul made fun of me he said I lived on a farm. And I was like, I don't live on a fucking farm. For a year. I mean, probably 2 years at least. That's the only thing I remember from elementary school about Abdul. Was that he made fun of me for living. Sorry, anyway, what was your story?
Hey, it's all good. Well, Abdul sat next to me. I don't remember what, but it must have been early in the year. And is this a family-friendly show? Can I say this freaking stinky head?
Yeah.
He and I got into some sort of argument, and he was like, "I'm gonna kill you."
Oh
and I was
my
like,
goodness.
"I'm gonna cut you in half."
It was him?
It was him.
He was the guy that
It was him. And we both got sent to the office. I got an office referral, and he didn't.
Fucking bullshit. I mean, that's freaking bullcrap.
Dude, Abdul, all I say, technically, if you cut someone in half, it's not guaranteed they're gonna die.
No, they can be fine.
Technically, I didn't even threaten his life.
Yeah, you just threatened to cut him in half. You didn't specify up and down or sideways, you know?
Man.
Darth Maul, he was fine. He got cut in half and he was fine.
It's amazing. We had a common enemy we didn't even really realize.
Yeah, we could have bonded way sooner over.
But then we were mutual friends in fourth grade. So you look at me right now. You remember this kid named Rashad, right?
I want my jacket back, motherfucker.
Rashad was my friend. I don't think quite as Tyler here was forced to be around him because he was my friend. But he didn't like him too much. It was.
So I stuck around for you.
I greatly appreciate you, man. And I would just remember specifically one time there was some sort of tornado drill or something, or we had to go out, sit in the hall, and I was sitting between you two, and you guys just yelled at each other for like 10 minutes.
I don't remember this.
And I'm just in the middle, and I'm like, my friends are fine.
We were like yelling over you.
Yes, I was sitting right between you.
In a tornado drill. So tornado drill is when, for some reason in Virginia, you stick your head between your knees in a hallway and in school when you're a little kid, and I hope you don't get killed by a tornado. I guess was the idea behind it.
I mean, I think if anything, it just at the very least, it'll turn you into a smaller, more dense projectile.
For sure.
And less likely to fly around like a rag doll.
Yep, make yourself dense.
I live in Kansas.
Sorry, Kansas. Shout out Kansas. Hang on. Yeah, I mean, all right, let's just go ahead and talk about like what your current role is. Cubica AMF, if I can say your company name.
So, no, I think I'm under
selling,
NDA.
I'm selling all these secrets to China.
I don't work for the government or anything.
Okay, good.
I'm working for Lockheed Martin or something like that.
That'd be cool.
Nope, I just make bowling machines.
Nice.
But no, you said I'm a manufacturing engineer.
Cool.
So I think most people see engineers and think what they do. You grow up and you build a Lego set, and you think, I can be an engineer, and it seems like fun. It's usually not Lego sets.
What?
Lego does have engineers.
That's cool.
And they get to design the Legos. And I bet there's a specific type of engineer that does the building to make sure they work. But I'd say 99.999% of engineers are not that. So most of the engineers are the guys who write the instruction booklets or, things like that. They sit behind a desk and they just click lines on a computer.
So is engineering, would you say, is more of a conceptual type? Conceptual, not conceptual. Conceptual.
Yeah, I would say
planning and drawing and things like that.
Engineering in general, at its root, is really more just problem solving. There's a lot of jobs that are basically just problem solving, but
that's fine.
It's problem solving in maybe a more technical field. There's the design engineers who get to design things. Their boss comes to them with the problem. I need this thing made, and they have to solve that problem. How do I make this thing? How do I make it quickly, easily? How do I make it durable? How do I make a quality product? How do I make it for the amount of money that I need to make it?
Like stay within budget.
Exactly. So that's kind of the type of engineer that I think a lot of people think engineering is, and that's what a lot of engineering is for sure. Manufacturing engineering, though, is definitely a bit more boots on the ground, and I would say probably closer to that Lego dream.
So what you're doing is more like hands-on kind of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, especially Cubica AMF is a great company, and I've really enjoyed working for them. Shameless plug.
They have their hands in a lot of different projects, don't they? Like I know that Cubica AMF does bowling for sure.
Oh no, that's it. All they do is bowling.
Okay.
So AMF has been around I have a packet on my desk that has the history of AMF, and they've done everything from, I think their original owner made like a tobacco cutting machine. That was their original first product. They made a tobacco cutting machine. They've done everything from, they owned a division of DeWalt at one point.
What?
They owned Harley Davidson in the 80s. They made golf clubs. They made boats. They made just about everything. But through some very complicated, corporate maneuverings throughout the years, it ended up that they pretty much just made bowling machines and ran bowling alleys. From there, they split off, and what's now called Bolero is what was AMF Bowling, and that's the actual bowling centers.
Okay. So they have like an entertainment section.
Right,
and then
that was sold off.
Okay.
So that was it came down to those two. It was the making bowling stuff.
And then the actual bowling alleys.
Yes.
Okay.
That got bought, and AMF combined with a company called Cubica. That was an Italian company.
Cubica.
Yeah, I guess that's how it is. Even I look at it sometimes and have no clue how they came up with that name, but it's got a ring to it when you start saying it 1,000 times.
Cubica. I could say that over. Okay, anyway, yeah.
Anyway, enough about their history. They combined and they now are the biggest bowling company in the world. And they're pretty great to work for.
Cool.
And I think, I think you would comfortably say that bowling is a pretty niche market.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm not making a small piece of plastic that we make 10 billion of every year. It's just we make these bowling machines, and it's a very specific sport that
it's not like you can go to Walmart or Home Depot or whatever and buy like a what do you call those machines that like reset the pins?
Right. Yeah. It's called a pin setter.
Pin setter.
Yep. Sets the pins.
There you
got
go,
it, man.
Context clue.
So that's what I work for. It's because it's a more niche type market, and because bowling machines are they have some very odd requirements in terms of they have. I won't get into the fine details of how to make a bowling machine, but a lot of what we do is still pretty hands-on, and because we're not some completely fully automated company, I get to be more involved in the day-to-day. So I guess I should define what a manufacturing engineer is.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go with that.
So. Like I was talking earlier about the design engineers who have that problem of, hey, we need to make this product. How do you solve that problem? The manufacturing engineers come in after that product is made, and the design engineers say, hey, here's the product. Figure out how to make it.
When you say made, when you say the design, so that one time.
So the design engineers, they come up with, they make the product.
Make put the product together and that's a prototype, or they make
they do end up making the prototype too, but they make the concept of the product. So they make that concept, and then it's a manufacturing engineer's job to make sure that is made effectively, efficiently, with high quality. So we're given the end product prototype. This is the bowling machine. You have to figure out how to make it.
I see. Okay, so you're
we make the processes that go into making the product. So we have to figure out.
I see. I made so the design engineers are I made this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is then to figure out how to take that thing
and put it together 100 billion times.
Mass produce. I got it. I follow. Okay.
Yes.
So they come up with stuff. You come up with how to make stuff.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. So it's definitely one of those things that's kind of a bit under the radar, saying maybe not as flashy as we made this bowling machine, we designed this bowling machine. That's probably what a lot of people think most engineers do, and that's what a lot of them do, and they do. It's a very, very important job, but there's a lot of fine details that go into putting something together, not just once, but in the case of our bowling machines, 5,000 times.
I see. I hear you. Can't all just be idea men, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Can't just have the ideas. You got to figure out how to make the ideas.
Exactly. So it's definitely. Hey man, you said it, not me. It's definitely it's the real key in what we do is take that thing and make it efficiently, make it effectively, make it a high quality product, and make sure that is a repeatable process.
Right.
I would say that's what we do is we make things repeatable.
So you want it to be efficient, cost effective, and then repeatable. So repeated 1,000 times. Mass manufacturing.
Exactly. So without going into the deep details of the economics of stuff, you have to have people to make things, unless you're making tiny little it can't all be robots. But sometimes robots the answer. But my job is to make sure that
sometimes robots are the answer.
Yes, we'll get to that.
It's important
in a minute. So making these things, you have the cost of the materials, you have the cost of the people, the labor. That's a lot of what our problem is we need to make this thing in a consistent time, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways that those things happen, from large scale projects, like one of my biggest ones was completely changing our painting line, to some finer details, like someone says, there's this Vietnamese lady where I work, who is on one of the product lines that I deal with. Her name is maybe I'll redact her name. Beep.
Ladies.
nice lady. Okay. Sorry about that. There's this nice lady where I work, and she's always, every time she comes to me, it's with some problem. She's like, "This hurts my wrist."
Oh no!
I said the Asian worker, "Oh, that's my waist," but I won't do that. Okay, now we're starting. So there's this nice lady who her problem is always saying that her wrist hurts. So whenever I deal with the stuff the processes that she works on, I have to figure out a way to make it so that it doesn't hurt her wrist. Is that a new tool? Is that a whole new fixture that I have to spend 10 hours designing that fixture, or it's the whole range of things. It can get as small detailed as this, just finding the right tool for the job.
Fix that lady's list. We'll fix that lady's wrist.
Fix that lady's wrist.
Fix that lady's list.
Fix your list. No, just kidding. So it on the larger scale projects, the big project I've been working on for the past, it's been about 2.5 years, I think, is working on our paint line.
Okay, working on your paint line.
Yes, so you think about this one bowling machine that we sell to a customer, then they put it in their center. But that bowling machine has all kinds of parts on it. There's at least 200 or so individual parts that go into a bowling machine.
You're talking about the pin setter?
Yes, the pin setter. Sorry, I said bowling machine. I say it. The pin setter is the right word. If hope the high ups at Cubic aren't watching this thing. It's called a pin setter. Anyway, so there's a bunch of parts that go into this. A lot of them we make in-house. We have a lot of sheet metal that we have CNC lasers, and we have press brakes that bend the metal. We have welders that weld the metal together. And then the final process in making these sheet metal parts is we paint them.
Okay.
Can't just have raw metal sitting around these raw. So we paint everything black. Everything on every single machine is just black paint.
Is it like powder coating, or is it a similar process?
We looked into powder coating. Don't tell the guy who sells me my paint that I said this, but powder coating and paint are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
They both get the same job done. You have a piece of metal or whatever it is. You need it covered in something to protect it from the elements or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's whether you start it out as a powder that then just kind of sucks to the part, or a wet paint that you're like used to in a rattle can, or all the way up to really high tech spray painting things. So
okay.
We looked into doing powder coating. There's advantages to everything. Ended up just didn't want to make the extra monetary investment to go into powder coating. It would have been pretty cool. Just it ends up being a little. It's almost like, I mean, you don't need to make everything out of titanium. It'd be nice if you could, but you don't need to.
Right.
So we use just wet black paint and
just normal like spray paint, like paint you made.
Not spray paint. I guess they can put it in a rattle can, but we started out with just a Sherwin-Williams. I don't know if I can say it. Started out with a thin, just a standard black paint in 55-gallon drums from a known paint manufacturer. Undisclosed, exactly. And we just had this whole process that was just guys with paint guns just spraying this kind of maybe not the perfect paint for our application, spraying this paint. And so they spray this paint on there, it goes to dry, has to sit and dry for 48 hours. This is our whole paint. And we would just kind of hang it up in the racks and just let it sit and dry. Well, the project started out just as, let's see if we can get this paint to dry a little quicker so that if we can get it to dry as soon as it comes off of our paint line, that'd be great.
Figure out how to paint to dry quicker. Is your product?
And there was plenty of times where my job was literally watching paint dry.
That is very funny. That's okay. Were you able to figure it out?
Yes, so 2.5 years later. Once again, I won't bore you with the details.
This is a recent development.
It doesn't feel recent. It feels like the last 2.5 years of my life have been. In the episode of SpongeBob where they have the pirate ship and Squidward is like pulling the ship.
Yeah, of course.
Behind him, and SpongeBob is doing like a backstroke, pulling the anchor that he's tied to behind him. It kind of felt like that for the last 2.5 years. I wouldn't say just like that, but so now we have a new paint. We got infrared oven to cure it. We got painting robots. So
that's exciting.
We have we went from 4 painters on 2 shifts to just having these robots. And I think the first thing people hear robots think, oh, taking people's jobs, but the key with...
Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah, give me a second here. So the key with with introducing robotics and automation is what you want to do. This is kind of a basis or a very basic principle of manufacturing engineering when it comes to automation. You want to get rid of the worst jobs, the ones that no one wants to do, the ones that suck,
Dangerous.
the ones that are dangerous, and that's exactly what we do with this. Like, there's no question the worst job in our plant was the production painter, the guy who sits there for 10 hours in a Tyvek suit, hand spraying this.
Sure, just up and down and just.
And inconsistently, they do it different every time. And so we managed to get rid of the worst job in the plant and replace it with something that does it more consistently, doesn't have to take a break. It's still, anytime it takes a break, it's because the guys that are controlling them have to.
So they still have people controlling them, and it's not totally automated. Okay.
Yeah, we went from 2 guys in the paint room during a shift to 1 guy who's in charge of, went from 2 painters to 1 technician.
Okay.
And that's on both shifts. It was a guy that was a painter that we taught the process to, and now he knows. And then the other guy just went to do the loading and unloading and all of that.
Nice.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's probably like a faster process. It's probably, like you said, it's the same thing every time, more consistent.
Exactly.
You don't have a dude having to like huff paint fumes and stuff all day.
Yeah, that's always a fun part of it.
Yeah.
And the only problem with that is that it does the same thing every time. If it messes it up, exactly.
Yeah.
So you still have such a human element there that they have to know what they're doing.
So with like the line, I guess you call it, like the automated, like the robot line, like you got like robot arms painting and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Do you ever have to go on there and repair those, like work on the robots?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That's the cool part about my job. So I guess I got to the boring, project manager working with
watching paint dry
to see what I can do to make their job.
The robots, you mean?
Yes, it's all about the robots.
Helping the robots. That's who we care about.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting being kind of the subject matter expert at my work on paint and robotics.
All one guy, believe it or not, one guy. Paint, robots.
It is just a fun thing. I get to feel important.
What are they actually called at work? Like, how do they refer to them? Certainly, they don't say, "Hey, go check on the paint robots."
Yeah, they call them the paint robots.
Do they really?
We named them.
That rules.
We are an Italian company, and the company that we bought the robots from are also an Italian company. So we, of course, had to name them Leonardo and Michelangelo.
That's actually pretty sick.
Yep, I get that. Cool. Hey, Leonardo's acting up again.
Yeah.
I gotta go fix Leonardo.
Those damn turtles.
The problem with being the subject matter expert is I'm the guy, if something goes wrong, I gotta fix it.
Yeah.
So
and you gotta figure out how to fix it, I'm sure, most of the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I call myself a subject matter expert. I am far from an actual expert, but I'm the one that knows the most about them in the plant. So I'm always the guy who's trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
You're an expert. You're the expert at that plant. Maybe not the most expert, but
exactly. Exactly. I think good enough, is probably my description of what I do.
Good enough. Good enough for government work. Good enough for government work. Good enough for the girls I hang out with.
Good enough for bowling machines.
Good enough for bowling machines. That's the third one.
You got it.
I'd start saying that. Good enough for bowling machines.
It's good enough for bowling machines.
They don't care.
Exactly. So yeah, that's what an example of one of those like bigger scale projects, and the number of times that I've had to travel somewhere and watch paint dry. I've had to, it's been, when we first put those in, they were just a nightmare. I could spend 100 million hours talking about all the terrible vendors, all the nights that I would get a call at 10 p.m. and I have to come in and fix a robot because something was up.
Is your plant it run 24/7?
Our second shift, so we have 2 10-hour shifts, so it runs 20 hours a day.
Oh, okay.
6 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. I guess, the all them rules about exactly. So yeah, there's that kind of big picture thing, and there's the small picture thing of when I did the whole, transformation of our paint line. These guys have to have, when I change things around, I make a technician spot. Well, the technician has to have a place for the tool, and has to have all this kind of thing.
So do you design like a little do you design like the layout of like the room that the Michelangelo?
Yes, pretty much. There's different. What started as just change your paint so that it dries quicker ended up becoming one of those things where I had to
redesigning an entire. It's nuts. It's crazy how one little aspect of your job, just like make paint dry faster, led to design a paint line with robot arms. And is there AI involved in like some of the?
We didn't quite go fully into. There are different, past what we specifically needed. We make. So just for some fun numbers for you, fun numbers with a dork. So our paint line. When I first started, we had that single part paint that took 48 hours to dry.
Yeah.
We were able to make about probably 2,000 sheet metal parts a week. That was what we put out. Maybe as much as like 25 or 3,000.
Before you?
Yes, before we started. Now, I mean, I know at least multiple weeks in a row, we made over 10,000 parts a week.
Damn.
I think at least 12,000 is a reasonable number for us to make in a week for really putting it in.
So you quadrupled your output? That's nuts. So you quadrupled your output. So this project, it started with, hey CJ, we need to make our paint dry faster. And it ended with you kind of like consolidating jobs in a good way. I mean, good thing.
Yes.
It made it more streamlined. You went from designed a line and then a room and just the layout of the factory and all that. Like, that's incredible. That one little idea, hey, we need to make our paint dry, led to that.
I would say
and 2.5 years of your life.
Yes.
I moved states and came back before you finished.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I think that project sort of exemplifies what a manufacturing engineer does. It had the whole kit and caboodle. It had me, figuring out capital equipment, which is just the industry word for. I know you deal with capital equipment all the time.
Constantly.
Just the things that cost more than $1,500 that companies need to
pretty much
do to run their business.
A lot of hospitals are 5,000.
Is that their number for?
Yeah,
okay.
some are 2. That's pretty much. I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud. Anyway.
Well, actually, this hospital has it.
Yeah.
So yeah, ended up being hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh yes.
You expensive.
Hey, I guess I got to spend money to make money, right?
True. Does that include what they had to pay you?
Oh no, this is just pure dollar bills spent.
Cost of that. I have a purchase order. Here's what this costs.
Yeah, I mean we had to buy a 21 foot infrared oven. We had to.
The hell is an infrared oven?
Oh man.
I mean, it sounds. I get it. It's hot.
Yeah, I'm not gonna nerd out over it.
It's really, really hot. Sounds
yes, basically. Instead of just letting something bake in there, you use high-powered infrared waves to cook stuff. So
fast. It's a microwave.
You know what? No, but it's close enough.
Okay, all right, close. You do now, like on the day-to-day. It's like fixing people's tools and stuff as they break and trying to improve. Basically, like improving processes and improving people.
Yeah, pretty much. It's very and it varies from company to company. Where I was going with 30 minutes ago when I started talking about, well, my company does this. With it being that niche market, it's very manual and hands-on. So I get to do a ton of the things that maybe in the bigger companies where there's a lot of automation, these guys are just there to do these big projects. All of those manufacturing engineers just do large projects, buying capital equipment, things like that. I get to do the hands-on stuff. I get to design smaller fixtures and things like that. I get to not just design whatever. So that's that like more macro thing where someone has this. I keep saying the word fixture. Someone has this problem that hurts their wrist or whatever, and I have to make something to make that easier for them.
Okay.
So a lot of places would design something, send it to a fab shop, have it done, bring it in, and just give them that thing. I get to design this thing, cut it on our CNC laser. I get to weld it together. I get to paint it myself. I get to bolt it onto the table that they're working on.
And what is this?
Like I'm trying to think of
my great grandfather would make tools. Like he would make, say you didn't have a wrench, he would make a wrench if he needed it at the time, whatever he was working on. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
In a very broad sense, yeah. That would be an example of like a handmade tool or a fixture that somebody would use.
Yeah, it's a handmade tool or something that you're making someone to make their job easy.
Yes, I think the best example of like a fixture that made a huge difference. This is not one that I made. It's one that my now boss, who is before it was my coworker, we're doing the same kind of thing I did. We have this piece of sheet metal that has a solenoid and little wire forms, all these little bits of electronics and mechanical parts on it that we have to make 10 of that go on each pin setter on our string line.
I'm picturing like a motherboard looking like CPU type.
Sure. So it's
like
got I would say the part, just very vaguely, maybe like Pop-Tart size, maybe like double the length of a Pop-Tart.
Delicious.
And it has a small little circuit board on it. It has plastic and bolts and little electronic pieces and everything all over it. So it's probably the most complicated like sub-assembly, which is like a smaller part of the bigger assembly that we make. It's the most complicated one to put together. And you could have one guy sit there and, fiddle with stuff bit by bit and, spend 10 minutes making one of these, or you can make a fixture that makes it easier for them to make a bunch at once. My coworker, now boss Troy, made it so that since there's 10 at a time, he made this fixture that you make 10 of these at once.
Okay.
It's got spots where you put the nuts and the bolts.
You all 10 at one time.
Exactly. And we've got very specified tools that, run bolts down to certain torques.
Mm-hmm.
We have magnets that hold parts to it that makes it easier to then put the next part on.
Cool.
Things like that. So that very broadly would be making that piece, that fixture is probably the most fun thing I do.
Cool.
It's
Nice.
stuff that I get to design.
And that's like an everyday thing. That's not like a big 2.5 year project.
Exactly.
That's like something you work on for a week or whatever. And then,
Exactly.
Cool.
It can be something that you work on for as quick as a week. It can be a couple of months for a bigger one, but that's more of that like small scale stuff. That is that Lego stuff.
Ah, cool.
That
That's
is the
Legos.
things where you get to.
That's the fun things. That's twiddling with things at your desk while you. Cool.
Very
Honestly,
fun.
I love. I don't remember if I said it earlier or not, but like as I've been getting older and like I'm almost 30 now, I've realized that I'm not. I think I started talking about it, and I don't think I ever finished talking about it. I don't think I ever finished my thought. But as I'm getting older,
You're scatterbrained, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this is gonna be nonsense. No, but I think we're doing good. But except I just forgot what I was talking about. Oh,
Yeah.
as I'm getting older, I have found that I like twiddling with things. Like I like taking like my lawnmower I had to take apart and fix this summer. I liked twiddling with that. I've been messing with my car. I pretty much like did all the body work and stuff with that.
Yeah.
I like working with my hands, and like my new job, I had to go into like hospitals and fix beds and stuff when they order them. And like there, I have to switch out parts and things. I found out maybe too late in life I like working with my hands.
Oh man.
But I've also found out that I like doing. We talked about it a little bit, the creative stuff, like the music thing, and this. I like. I have more of a creative outlet. Like more of a creative mind, I think, than like a. This might surprise you, but more of an educational, like smart, like math and science brain. You know what I mean? Like I'm more of an English and history guy, and creating things guy instead
Everybody does
of
stuff in their own way.
a numbers guy. Anyway, I'm figuring that out now.
It's such a shame that we have to learn later in life that
Yeah.
there's different ways to learn things.
Yeah.
There's different ways to do things.
You actually didn't have to go to college. You didn't have to do that. I found that out. But sometimes it helps. How'd you get? That actually is a good segue. How'd you get to like where you are now? So this isn't your first job out of college, right? This is probably job 2 or 3 out of college.
So I guess my first real engineering job, I started out at a company called Bush Manufacturing.
Nice.
It's spelled B-U-S-C-H. It's not Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
Would have been a lot cooler, but there is one of those in Williamsburg.
There is. They were a customer of mine when I worked at Fastenal. This is a podcast about jobs. I
Yeah.
guess I could. Yeah. I worked at Fastenal. But you mind if we pause real quick? I kind of have to pee.
Pause, delete.
All right. And we're back.
Hey!
Hello. All right. So we were talking about pissing. No, we were talking about. Where were you? How'd you get to where you are? Yes, manufacturing engineer. How'd you get here?
So actually, we had started talking about my internship at Bush.
Right, because you had jobs before this one.
I think it actually goes back a lot
assume.
further. So, like every kid that plays with Legos, they're like, I am an engineer.
Yeah. Have you wanted to be? How long have you wanted to be an engineer? Because I know.
Dude.
I mean, I remember we were smart kids, I guess you could say. I actually have a stand-up bit I'm working on about this.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear that.
I think we might.
I think I might relate.
Anyway, we might have just been really autistic. But like in 6th grade back then, I feel like you were like always really good at math. And then going into high school, we could kind of like pick our specialty centers. And so I knew like as early as 8th grade, you wanted to be engineer. Because we could pick our high schools where we grew up. You could like pick. It's like college. They're like known for certain things.
Yep.
Like certain specialties. So his high school was engineering high school, and I tried to get into that one, but I'm bad at math. So they said no, and then we went to different high schools. But anyway,
Yeah, I think that we were talking about math earlier and how it's like I don't actually use math that much on the daily.
Yeah,
I do use it sometimes. I think that like
calculator. You got a calculator though. I mean, at all.
that's true. That's true. But I think I
could have done
probably more about like knowing how math works than using it.
the concept
Exactly.
because you got to apply it to real life. Yeah.
Exactly. So you do have to know math. You don't have to know math. It's like we were talking earlier about the like type of learning. There's people who understand who are just born with that mechanical mind. Know it. They just can't learn stupid arithmetic, and like it doesn't need to actually. You don't need that. You need to understand the concepts, and if you can. It's all about like if people that aren't math oriented, if they could be taught the concepts, not the hard numbers. I think there's plenty of people that could be really great.
Me. That's me. 100%. I've always sucked at math. Always been so bad at it. But I think if I understood the concepts behind it, I think if I went back to school now, I'd be so much better at school than I was. Like
Yeah.
It's crazy how bad at school I was. Like
Hindsight, huh?
Yeah. But I don't know. I do think if I understood the concept behind a lot of like math, I would have I'd stand a better chance. But I don't know. I don't feel like I was taught correctly growing up in grade school is what I was trying to say.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think
Not taught the best way that I could learn. Math.
That's all you can do is learn the way the best way you know how to learn. And if it doesn't give you that option in whatever learning system you have, you're just set up to fail. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, that's true.
And learning is hard. It is hard. It sucks that like I think you've enjoyed the learning you've done lately, working with your hands. You were talking about learning how to fix your car and learning how to just take things apart and put them back together. You enjoy learning when it's presented in the way that you learn well.
Yep, absolutely. I also I do have to have an interest in something which I didn't. It's so growing up. I realize as I get older, like I find more interest. That's the dumbest thing. Obviously, yeah. Don't shit, Sherlock. But like, it's like things that I wasn't interested in as a kid, like language, for example. I had zero interest in language as a kid. We were able to take languages in 6th grade, I think, starting. I wish I would have taken advantage of that because I didn't. I tried to do Spanish and then I was like, fuck this. I'm in 6th grade. This is awesome.
Did you do Latin for a while?
I did Latin that was in high school though. I did Latin, I think. Yeah, I don't really remember a whole lot of it, but I'm doing we're looking for sponsorships. Just kidding.
I just
episode 2, haven't even put one out yet.
After not doing Duolingo for like 3 months, I finally got back into it 2 days ago.
Nice.
Currently have a freeze set on my 1-day streak because I didn't do it yesterday.
That's pretty good.
I'm
pretty proud.
It's an honor.
I started this morning. I started a new streak this morning.
Nice. All right. Hey, let's hold each other accountable.
Huh?
Let's hold each other accountable.
Okay.
We're both getting to 90-day streaks on our Duolingo.
90 days?
90 days.
All right. So.
What do you got better to do?
Nothing. Literally nothing.
Let's do it.
All right. 90-day streak.
All I gotta do is one lesson a day,
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna write that down. I'm not gonna write it down, but I'm gonna text you as soon as this is done. 90-day streak.
All right, 90-day streak. Good thing we're not off topic or anything, right?
Yeah, let's get back on. Focus up.
So we're talking about I was we
Previous
had our little high schools that you went to the like computer.
Yeah, I went to the computer specialist center. It was for IT.
Yeah, IT. And I went to the Governor's Academy for Engineering Studies.
Fancy.
Yeah, it was not that fancy.
It was not fancy. No, it was scary.
Yeah, it was very scary. That was, as much as I thought I wanted to be an engineer, I really found that it was the path for me going to that specialty center. What an amazing program that was. Thank you. Shout out to Chesterfield County for not just spending your spare money on stupid stuff.
Yeah. Hey, you actually
empowering kids to do things for the world.
Mm-hmm.
So
it worked. It worked.
It worked. I mean, I'm an engineer.
Yeah, you're proof. It worked all the way up.
Yes, sir. So
I know two. There's 2 engineers I know from that program.
Yeah, well, since I was in it, I know a lot of engineers from that program.
Well, true. Yeah, you would know a lot more than I would. I know too. I didn't go there, and I know too. So there you go. It worked.
I cannot wait to get a Keys episode.
Yeah, I just texted him today and asked if he would be on. He's
Nice.
coming to town next. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Cannot wait to hear that.
I'm pretty excited. I'm excited about it.
Anyway, it was such a great program. Learned a ton about the idea. Like I said, engineers about ideas and problem solving, and it's very easy to learn the hard math and all those very specific types. But a lot of it really was just learning how to solve a problem, and I really appreciate that program for doing that. I didn't work as hard as I should have, and in 11th grade we had to pick a specified type of engineering. There was like architectural drawing. There was.
You had to pick like a.
It was almost like an elective engineering class.
Wow. Okay.
So you had some type of engineering you had to take. I ended up taking biomedical.
Cool.
Without a doubt, in my 17 years of learning in a formal environment, worst class I've ever taken.
I never knew you took a biomedical class.
It was stupid.
For the kids out there, I'm a biology major with a pre-medical concentration, and I currently, for the last 4 years, I've sold medical supplies, and now I currently work for physical therapy supply sales. So similar biomedical type. I never knew you did that.
It really is like, I don't know if it was like I'm glad you're doing it. We're finding connections, man. We've been friends for
no idea.
24 years.
I would say friends. But
we've been at the very least acquaintances for the past 24 years, and just finding that out about me, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Well, anyway, it was horrible. I hated it.
All right. Cool.
We just, it was basically just like biology, but make it about slightly more applied stuff. I knew right then I did not want to do that.
Was it biomedical engineer? That's like, I can't even begin to guess what that is.
So things like, what we learned a lot about was medical procedures and that.
That's not at all what I would imagine.
I mean, that's what a biomedical engineer does.
They make those.
They come up with a better material. Like we specifically learned about the whatever nickel cobalt insert they put for the cup.
So that it's not like rejected by the body.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. So I learned a lot about that and realized I did not enjoy any of it. A lot of it was my teacher, but I just found that was not my passion at all.
Yeah.
One of the classes I probably should have taken was the one called manufacturing engineering.
And you did not take this.
I did not take that.
And you were currently a manufacturing engineer?
Yeah, would have been nice.
Seems like you didn't need it.
I would say that, yeah, that would have been nice.
It would have helped, though.
Would have helped.
Not necessary, but would have helped. This is all in high school, too.
Yes, this is 11th grade.
That's so cool.
It was such a cool program.
Yeah.
Their like final project for that class was that they had to make a can crusher. So it was so cool. It was like it had like space requirements, just like I would have in my job.
Yeah.
I have a fixture I have to make that I can only fit. I fit it on this table. I have very specific space requirements that I have to fit it in, and it really did, from what I could tell, exemplify what it means to be a manufacturing engineer.
Yeah.
Really wish I'd taken that class, but yeah, you would have to like drop the can in at a specific point. You would have to travel down. I don't remember if it was a conveyor belt or it was pneumatically. You had like a pneumatic cylinder that would have to push the can to the next spot, and then another one that would crush the can, and then another one that would like push it out.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Into its like dispenser or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looked so cool. I wish I'd taken that class.
Everyone who took that class, they have a can crusher in their house now that we're all adults.
That was
the first thing they did. As soon as they got out of college or whatever, they're like, I'm going to build, I bought this house, I'm going to build a can crusher. Man.
Lucky ducks.
I
kind of want to make one now. Should I?
You should. I was always really jealous of y'all, like your projects, because my projects were like, decipher like what this computer code is going to do. Like here's a bunch of computer code, tell me what it's going to do. That was my project. Your projects were like, design something that can protect an egg from being dropped 4 stories without it breaking.
Right.
Or I think you guys made hovercraft at one point.
That was
hover cars. They made hover cars, and
we had to race them.
They had to race hovercraft in high school as a project, and I had to write Cisco code or whatever routing. I don't even know how to. If I was good at it, it would have paid off. I'm not.
But it wasn't your passion, man.
Nah, definitely not. Dropping eggs, that would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Dropping eggs would have been cool. Hovercraft, cool.
Yeah, it's a shame that you didn't get the opportunity, man. As much as I praise Chesterfield County, I think just education as a whole could be better.
I agree. Maybe in the whole country. Let's talk politics.
Whole world.
Let's talk
I
politics.
would certainly love to do that.
No, let's not.
Politics are fun.
Let's not say we did.
Yeah.
Let me see. So
Anyway, so that's that first thing that started this journey of like that specific, that I saw that Can Crush thing, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But I still didn't really know what manufacturing engineering was.
Okay.
And
this is all that was in that class again that you didn't take.
exactly.
Okay.
So I wish I had, it would have expedited this whole process. But so I went into college expecting to be more of that design engineer I was talking about before, that design this product for me and I would come up with a solution. And you know, I mean, if I got fired tomorrow and I had to figure something out, I wouldn't mind going down that route.
Yep.
I think I could still probably figure it out, but that's what I went into college thinking. I'm gonna do that kind of engineering. And I think that's what a lot of the Lego kids that enjoyed them growing up expected to do, maybe in more of a broad sense. So I go into college thinking that, and that's kind of what I thought all the way until I had my internship between my junior and senior year this summer. So I went to work at Bush Manufacturing down in Virginia Beach. They make vacuum pumps.
Where'd you go to school at? Where'd you go to?
Went to
College?
Old Dominion University.
Shout
Roll
out.
Narcs. Was mechanical engineering with a minor in, was it a minor? Yeah, it was a whole minor in math.
Math? Okay, that's what I was going to say. I thought it was math.
Yes.
Cool. So, sorry. So, internship, junior, senior year.
Yes, that was Bush Manufacturing, and I think that was the best thing for me being there, because in any sort of manufacturing environment, a factory, you get all of those aspects, all those different types of, except for, you know, maybe the more like extreme niche types of engineering, you kind of get a grasp of everything that goes on there. And there were three kind of main managers I worked for. So I had my manager, and then there was three departments I worked for. I don't remember what the specific was, but basically they were kind of more that design thing. They did R&D work on some of the products.
Okay.
And they would do, you know, I worked with them on a few things, like one of our vacuum pumps that we made, we had some reports from the field of, hey, we are having issues with getting these. They show up and we unpack them and the frame rails that hold these pumps are bent. Yeah, what's the matter with this?
Oh.
No good.
You ever see that?
I've heard you mention it probably. I've seen it.
I think I've
at
sent
this
it
point,
to you.
but I don't think I have. Does that make sense?
Yep. I'll be certain to send it to you after this.
Heck yeah. They had these frame rails bending, and they were like, "Oh, this sounds like a great job for our engineer or our intern Chandler." That was a pretty sweet project, probably the coolest one I did with that department. Literally, I would have these on the floor, lift them up with like a pallet jack, and pull the pallet jack off underneath, and slam on the ground.
What? And what were these? These were just big vacuum.
Yeah,
tubes? Or-
vacuum pumps. So the easiest like comparison would be one of the pumps that they made. I think it was called the mink pump. Once again, I every time I'm like, oh, I should describe what this thing does. I'm like, no one actually fucking cares.
No.
This specific pump, what they used it for, the one use that is very applicable is some dentist offices would use it for their central suction for like their
Yeah.
little sucky things they use to
do that again.
suck your spit and blood out of your mouth. So that's a very general, one specific example to explain what a vacuum pump does. They were pretty large, probably like 4 feet long, 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and weighed a lot. So it was like lots of fast and forged metal. Yeah, but like if it was like laying down.
I pictured cylindrical up. Maybe we're spinning.
First podcast, people.
That's me.
I think it's good at this, man. So anyway, and it because of the way that you had to put the motor on it and the shape it had to be, had these big long frame rails. I got to pull it out from underneath, just watch it drop, and see if it bent these frame rails.
Okay.
So it's that more that like testing, that R&D engineering. That's more what they did. Maybe not as much the design.
Okay.
And I had fun with that one project, but overall the stuff I did with them was pretty boring.
What'd you title it?
I think it was just like mechanical engineering intern, or just engineering intern. But I was just going. I think most of them that were there were from mechanicals. Was Dale, cool dude.
Shout out Dale.
Dale. I don't know where he's working for now, but
I remember he had a Challenger at one point. I thought it was pretty cool.
it's kick ass for sure. But he was actually not specifically mechanical engineering. He was mechanical engineering technology. So that's a, I guess, specific type of degree that's not exactly mechanical engineering. It's called engineering technology. and that focuses more on the less mathy side of engineering. So while I was doing some theoretical thermodynamics class, he was doing a mechatronics class, building robots.
Mechatronics?
Yes.
Mechatronics. That
Mechatronics.
sounds cool.
It is very cool.
What?
So I think he only went up to like Calc 1.
Okay.
And meanwhile, I did like abstract algebra in Calc 4. But stuff that I don't use at all, will never think of again in my life.
No one's ever used that stuff.
No. Nope. I think if I had to go back and do it again, I would be tempted to pick MET.
What's that?
Mechanical engineering technology.
Sorry?
Mechanical engineering technology.
Oh, okay.
It's just it really is more of that, just the core of what engineers do in like applied engineering. That's why I call it as applied engineering.
Yeah.
Instead of
see movies.
Exactly. So like I said, while I was taking a calc class, he was taking mechatronics and learning the actual how to apply engineering into something like manufacturing. So for all you thousands, maybe millions of kids out there listening to this podcast.
That's right, there will be tons.
Really, if you think you don't have the math brain for engineering, think about
you don't.
Engineering.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just give up now. Just give an engineering technology a whirl. Just see if you have your local college has it, or the college they might. Didn't have the math brain he thought for engineering. Probably could have excelled in an MET type degree.
Thanks.
So yeah, just go back in time. 18 years old, apply to ODU.
If only.
Get in, go to MET.
What I wouldn't give.
Amen, brother. Was I? Anyway, so that's more of that R&D, kind of the testing and designing type engineering. Then there was logistics.
Okay.
Which,
logistical engineering?
Yeah, I don't know if it... once again, don't remember the department name, but very, very rough description would be like logistics engineering, trying to figure out how to design the receiving docks and all that thing.
How to get this from that to there.
Yeah, so a huge part of engineering, specifically manufacturing engineering, is flow. You have only so much space to make these things. You have only so much space to move stuff around a warehouse, and a really good engineer will be able to design that flow in the best way possible. And that's part of what I do, is that logistics type. Sometimes we got to design where the racking goes and how stuff flows. That's the plan.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of paperwork and stuff like that, and this was my favorite. So
I see.
But then the third department was
this is all
of Bush.
Okay.
So the third department that I worked with as an intern was manufacturing engineering.
Sick.
I would say definitely by far my favorite. I helped do small adjustments to certain product lines and things like that. A lot of what they did, because they did machining there, some more heavy machining than I do at AMF. There's some of those engineers that do the machine coding and things like that. And I really found that I just kind of like being in the factory environment, being able to like go down on the floor and see what I was working with, not just this nebulous concept of like make this product. It really feels pretty cool to be given a problem. You need to fix this, and being able to go down, see the people that have the problem.
Yeah.
That right there is the coolest part.
You can talk to them and like see like, hey, what exactly is the issue with this? Or
Exactly. I'm not designing a product for a billionaire.
Yeah.
To then make more billions of dollars. I am working with the people that work for that, whoever it is, and I get to help them. I don't just get to.
You're making
help
their
my
lives
company.
easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of different parts of. As much as I make these fixtures for the lady who her wrist hurt.
Her wrist hurts, yeah.
I had that right there is I get to make her every day easier. Working in a factory is not the best job, especially if you're just like a standard operator.
Especially with those guys saying, "Quit complaining about your wrists."
Yeah, right.
Those guys.
I'm the I don't know if you've ever there's the song the Workers song by Dropkick Murphys. All right. I will be sending you that as soon as I leave.
Please.
There's the end of the second verse. I'm trying to think how it goes. All right, we can definitely edit this out. So
I'm leaving all this.
Okay, here we go.
Leaving this out.
So the specific line is the shipyards and mines were often told to keep up with the times. Our skills are not needed. They've streamlined the job with slide rule and stopwatch. our pride they have robbed. Yeah, I mean, that's hard hitting stuff right
That
there.
is pretty hard to stuff.
I think that's what a lot of people think those manufacturing engineers do.
That's what I figured.
And
I figured
sometimes I sit there with a stopwatch.
that wasn't that was a stopwatch.
Sometimes I sit there with a stopwatch. I don't
Although-
like that very much.
You could have a gun and just get more.
Yeah, that's a productivity engineer.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think that I can definitely understand how people would see that that's generally what my job does. The boss man says, make them work quicker.
Right.
And thankfully, that's not what I have to do.
No.
If I ever worked for a place like that, I would find a new job immediately.
Yeah, it sounds like that's not at all what you. It sounds like your job is to streamline. Like, I keep saying streamline, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that like corporate streamline. I mean like make things make sense. Make things easier for the guys on the line or ladies, guys or ladies on the line. You know.
There you go.
And
when I work on a fixture or work on these things, so my company's customer is bowling alleys that want to buy their machines. My customer is the people on those lines. I am
like
working to make their lives easier. It's just collateral damage if I get to help my company, make more money too. It's I guess that's what I should have brought it down to. My customer is the people on the lines, and I can make their job better every day.
Nice, that rules. It's your they're your coworkers. You get to help them out. And
Yeah, and
I'm sure they really
some
appreciate
really great guys.
Do they appreciate you at all? Do you like pass them back?
Every once in a while, there's the ones that are really annoyed with what I do. I've sure made people's lives more annoying. Sometimes, I get the call from upstairs this needs to be this way instead. I have to do something that somebody maybe, as much as I want to make these guys lives better. Sometimes they are set in their ways. Yep. I'm sure you knew exactly where
I knew exactly where you're going with that.
And
I've had jobs like I've had previous roles where like I'm like, why are we doing it this way? This is dumb. And then I change it, and then someone comes behind me and changes it back. And I'm like, that's the way we always done it. That's Don't jump, don't do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. There's definitely some of that, and no matter what. In general, I get to help these guys. I get to make their lives easier every day, and I'm friends with a lot of them. There's some really great guys. But all right, so where was I at with that?
So we were talking about Bush and.
Yes, so I found out. Yes, I liked working in a factory because it wasn't just making some nebulous concept.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go down on the line and make a difference.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You get to conceptualize and then see it.
I got to see a problem. I got to design the problem solution, and I got to build it, and I got to implement it and see the effects it made. Looking at that paint line every day, it's so much better a process, and it is, I think, one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. Is just that those things you can see.
Nice. The
change that you made, and people are better for it.
I can imagine that, yeah, for sure.
It's fun stuff.
My job, I feel like my job is I mostly answer emails and drive around. But every now and then I'll do a quote for like a clinic build out. Like there'll be
nice.
Like one of my hospitals been building a new clinic and like a new physical therapy clinic, and they'll need all this new equipment. So, 3-4 months before they build it or move into it or whatever, I'll quote out all the equipment design and all that stuff. Like you can put these tables here and this. Anyway, it's nice to see if you answer a bunch of emails, you're going to meetings and stuff, and you're talking about it, and then it finally, like the installation, the delivery day comes, you get to put all the tables away, you get to put all the equipment together and all that stuff, and it's just like that's the best part of my job is when I get to see all the stuff I've been working on for 3 months at a time or whatever. Finally,
you're a problem solver, man.
Yeah, I kind of am. My job title is consultant, so
that's cool.
That means I consult. I consult. I solve problems. So yeah, similarly. But you seem to.
You guys want to get this beer open?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love factories, and knowing that not only is there a problem that I'm solving. What?
You love factories? I love factories. Those are most
factories are awesome, man.
Factories are cool. That's most autistic.
Factories and trains.
Factories, trains. What else are cool? Boats, planes, pretty cool.
Dude, construction equipment.
Oh. The bigger, the better.
The bigger, the better.
Anyway.
There's definitely something about seeing a big factory that just
tickles
something inside you.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, so I did that internship. Unfortunately, there quote unquote wasn't a job available for me when I left.
That's the way it always is.
They would have made a job for me if I was good enough.
Yeah.
I was new at this,
Yeah.
Still learning a lot, and I'm glad that I had that job. It was, I think, the best internship I could have had.
Cool.
I can't imagine anything that would have been better than that. So shout out Bush, y'all rule. So after that, I just wanted to get back here to Richmond because some girl or something, I don't know.
You met a woman?
A woman.
They'll do that to you.
And I just wanted to be back here. I did my 4 years in Hampton Roads.
Nice.
That was enough.
Yeah.
4 years in Hampton Roads.
So that's enough. I spent some time down there too. I didn't spend 4 years. I spent.
Was that enough for you? Yeah. So it's not. But
No,
Richmond is such a cool place, man. It's got so much culture.
2 hours from the mountains, 2 hours from the beach.
It's the best. 2 hours from DC.
Yeah, 2 hours from DC.
It's just an awesome place, and I know a lot of people that there's like the whole concept that like staying where you grew up, not leaving your hometown, is like, oh, that's how you get stuck in your ways or whatever. But Richmond is not like that.
No, not at all.
Richmond is awesome.
Richmond
is the place people move to leave their hometowns.
And as of 2024, it is still pretty. Like you hear about Austin, like you hear about Austin, Texas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about New York, LA.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond is one of those cities. It's not nearly as big for one, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like people are just now, I think, catching on to it. Like that it's a pretty cool place to live.
For sure.
So hopefully
We got history, we got culture. We don't have too bad traffic right now. Can't wait to listen to this in 10 years when I'm pulling my hair out.
Oh my god, yeah.
Driving 1995.
They're putting up apartments all over the place as we speak.
Yeah.
Stop building apartments. Stop.
You can build more apartments if you build good enough roads to get to them.
I suppose. Widen 95 and 64, but do it fast and without holding up any traffic.
I'm sure the mayor's listening.
Yeah. The mayor of Virginia. Governor.
I guess I was thinking about Richmond.
Oh.
Richmond. But sorry, the governor of Virginia.
Governor. I don't know.
Youngkin.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Glenn Youngkin.
I didn't finish the sentence on public recording.
Sorry, I cut you off. Yeah.
Yep.
So I wanted to get back to Richmond, and I took a job that was not manufacturing, and I kind of hated it. I'm just a chill guy, I don't get too like bummed out or upset by anything.
Must be nice.
I get even like situations I'm not like, super thrilled about. It's okay.
Not the end of the world.
I'm an optimist, unfortunately. It is until things suck.
Yeah.
And then you get like so positive about it, even though it sucks.
Everyone around you wants to hit you.
Yeah.
Like, ah.
Yeah. So I had a job working for a company called ATS that did industrial inspections. So the company's main thing was that they inspected piping, storage, tanks, and pressure vessels in plants. Not factories, plants.
Not
usually. So like a chemical plant type.
What's the difference between a factory and a plant?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know. I'd say a factory produces a physical finished good and a plant produces something.
It's like I worked at Hopewell Water Plant.
Exactly. I think it's defined on what you make. I think like
Nuclear energy plant. That makes
I call it a bowling machine plant. All right, we'll do it. I usually we didn't go into. Well, we did go into some factories. One time I went to the Cummins plant down in North Carolina.
That's cool. I'd like to see that.
It's a real factory.
I'd like to see. Can I get a tour of your factory?
Anytime. Yeah. Literally just come by anytime.
Okay. I will.
Anytime Monday through Friday, dude.
Alright,
Give me a holler. I'll give you an hour tour. So.
I'll do it. You think? Yeah, I'll do it. That'll work.
Yeah. We'll get it together, Brad. All right.
Okay.
So I would go to factories and plants, and I would do industrial inspections. So I didn't have any of the certifications, so I was just kind of the bitch boy who did whatever the main guy who was actually doing the inspection needed me to do. Very important job, very boring job, very, very dangerous.
Important, boring, and dangerous?
Yeah. So, just the worst type of job you can have.
Dude.
So, inspections in general are just for making sure people actually follow the rules and don't do dangerous things. So, I would go to there's tons of chemical plants down here around Hopewell that I would go to that have all kinds of dangerous chemicals, things like that are contained inside of something, a pressure vessel, if it has to be pressurized. A storage tank, if it doesn't need to be pressurized, or piping, if it needs to be moved.
Okay.
And we would just inspect them and make sure that they weren't gonna explode or leak and kill everyone in Oakville.
So you would inspect like the tanks or like the pipes that these
Yes.
chemicals or liquids, was it gas, whatever was in,
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
was stored in.
yes. Yeah, I would not like to be in there when a lot of those chemicals were
I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
So gasoline or whatever.
not very fun.
Be bad.
Not very fun, I think. Maybe if it's one of those like really intense ones, that would be really fun for like, I don't know, 10 seconds or so until you die.
Maybe.
But so thankfully I didn't have to do the worst job, which would be cleaning out those tanks after they get emptied.
Yeah, that
Before
was
we inspect them. There was one time that I heard about some guys from our company that worked at our main, whatever, our like headquarters out in Georgia. There was some sort of pressure vessel that they were inspecting that had some super dangerous chemical in it, and they said, "Hey, here you go inside here and inspect this for us." And they were like, "Absolutely not. There is definitely still that chemical in here. You need to clean this much better before you go in there."
Whoa. So they were trying to get your company to go in there.
Yes, and they said no.
Okay.
And so they said, "Okay, we'll get some more tank cleaners and they'll come in and clean it out." So these guys, the tank cleaners, went in there to clean it out, and so 3 or 4 guys just to make sure it was in tip-top shape and whatever chemical suits or whatever they had to clean it out. And they went in there and they all died.
Jesus. They all died? How many dudes? You know how many dudes?
Probably 3 or 4 guys.
Fuck.
Went in there to clean it and they died. So
Holy
good
shit.
thing our guys didn't go in there.
Yeah, no shit. That
It sucks for the guys that were cleaning it.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's
my
just
God.
kind of like a little, anecdote that I wasn't involved in, but
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff that we would inspect. I mean, that's what our company did.
That's crazy.
There were times that I was squeezing through some sort of manway that was barely designed for humans to get in there to inspect. There
So
was
squeeze through your manway?
I would like to retract that statement. There was times where we would be up in the air on a. I'll never forget went to.
I'm flying through the air right now. I'm upside down.
I'll never forget the one time I went to some chemical plant down in Chesterfield, and we were supposed to inspect some piping, and there was a boom lift. You've probably seen the ones that go.
The big arms, and it has like a platform for a guy to stand on.
Exactly. Yeah. They're like, all right, and I was the guy who was certified to drive this boom lift.
You drunk driving the boom lift?
I plead the fifth. I was the guy that was certified to drive it, and I go over there, and there is no way this thing was touched in the last 10 years. It was completely rusted. The basket that's supposed to keep you in and not have you get thrown out.
Had a hole in the floor.
Yes, absolutely. The railings were busted. There were multiple Black Widow spider webs all over it.
I hate that. Don't like spiders.
Yeah, so you probably wouldn't have had very fun with this one.
No.
The like joystick that you used to drive it, completely busted, just sitting there hanging,
It's broken off.
just broken off. Dude, we were just like, there's no way some human being looked at that and said, "Yep, this is what they'll use." Anyway, that's just the kind of stuff that made me realize that is not the job I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I did my time. Probably, I guess I probably worked there for 2 years.
It was a good run, I remember.
It was a good little run, and I did some sketchy stuff. I did some fun stuff. A lot of stuff I did was on top of roofs.
I was gonna say, was that the same job you had to like check roof, like for window washers and
Yep.
things like that? Like the clips that they clip into?
Exactly.
Same job.
Yes. Same job. So we would have to test the anchors that they window washers tied
That's
off
the word
to.
I was looking for. Thank you. Yes.
To wash the windows. That was really fun. The times that I was looking down at double-digit stories on what could have been my doom if I.
Nope.
Yeah, no, it was. I didn't mind that actually. I really enjoyed it.
Were you ever like on? Did you ever like have to hang off the side of buildings and stuff?
Off the side, no. I would say the sketchiest thing I did. We went up to New York City one time.
New York City.
New York, and we were on Rockaway Beach, in Queens, I think it is. There was this like Presbyterian hospital, 11 stories. I remember it well. And so they did this. It was this very tall, 11 story hospital, looking out over Long Beach as it stretches out into Long Island. Into Long Island. And it was a really pretty view, but it was less pretty because the way this building was set up, it had anchors were all on the edge of the building. Totally reasonable, as they should be.
Sure.
But they did this really cool thing also where they had a fence around the entire building, on the roof. On the roof. The anchors were on the outside of the fence. I would say maybe 6 inches wider than my boot was the space I had between the fence and the edge of the building.
Jesus, so like probably a foot.
Yeah, I'd say 18 inches, probably an 18 to 20 inch space that I could set my feet on. And we had to take a winch and winch 2 anchors together to 5,000 pounds. A manual winch. I'm sitting there cranking on this thing while my 2 coworkers that were with me were hanging onto my vest so that I
with their hands,
so I wouldn't fall off the building.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. Then you weren't anchored to anything. Were they anchored to anything?
I think I was anchored to the fence, but the fence wasn't like an approved anchor. It was some sort of like sheet metal type thing. It was not an approved window washing anchor.
You couldn't anchor a 200-pound person and hang off the side of the building.
You never know what
you wouldn't want to.
I would not want to. No. So I think I was attached to the fence, but because it wasn't like an official place to anchor, they had to hold on to my. I'm like butt up against the thing, like standing stiff as a board as I'm like cranking on this thing, trying to get it up to 5,000 pounds.
That's so scary.
The whole building, around the whole edge of it, man. No, not at all. And it wasn't like it was a super great paying job either. You know, I will say I got a lot of great stories from it. I got a lot of great memories. I realized it's not what I wanted to do, and there's plenty of value in that.
A lot of jobs since I got out of college, and it's very important finding out what you don't want to do as much as it's very, very important.
So I will say, like, they were a good enough company, dude. I'll never forget. So good enough company. Probably the shittiest HR thing ever was, thankfully, I got hired on middle of June.
Okay.
I think it was my official hire date.
That's my birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Middle of June, thanks.
So I got hired on the middle of June, and July 1st, an announcement was sent out company-wide. Anyone hired after July 1st, so when I started, I had 2 weeks, 10 days of PTO. Anyone hired after July 1st, everyone's PTO was dropped down a week.
Everyone hired after, so
I was safe.
Really?
But every coworker I had that was hired after had 1 week.
Wow.
5 days.
That's not a lot.
Of PTO.
That's for the whole year.
For the whole year.
That's sick included?
Sick included.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible.
8-hour work days, or just whenever you finish the job?
You can imagine I was on top of rooftops in New York, so.
True. It's just kind of whenever you finished.
Kind of whenever you finished. We would have travel time up to places.
You did travel a lot. You had to go to New York, Philly one time? Right?
I went to New York. Technically, so New York and Philly, that one trip was with AMF.
Oh, okay.
Went to go check. We had some lane panels, the actual Bowlin lanes themselves, that had some tolerance issues. I went with our design engineer to fix that.
They were being intolerant?
Yes, very intolerant. But, I had to travel to New York a couple times. I had to travel to New Jersey, North Carolina, all that kind of stuff with ATS. So, you got per diem, you got travel time and things like that. But also, if you didn't have a job to do, either you sit around the office doing nothing or you just don't work. So if you didn't have work and wanted, I'll take a day of PTO, well, you had 5 of those. So
you better use them sparingly. Good Lord.
Kind of crazy.
That's rough. It should be not legal.
5 days.
5 days is out of 365.
Pretty sure the guys working in the foundries and Peaky Blinders got more time than that, but
I believe it. The child laborers of the early 1900s.
Yeah. So anyway, I got back to Richmond and got that job. Worked there for 2 years. Realized within the 2 years, this job is just not what I want to do for the rest of my life. It wasn't even that it was dangerous. I just didn't enjoy it too much.
Had you met your wife? Your now wife?
Oh yeah. So I met.
Y'all got married in 2021?
2019.
2019. Whoa.
Yeah. So I met in 2014.
Okay.
So after my freshman year of college.
Okay. All right.
So that's college was over, and that's why I moved back here.
That woman we met
that woman.
I see.
So yeah, I realized that job wasn't for me. So I was like, all right, let's try and find. It would be cool if I get back into manufacturing here in Richmond. And lo and behold, Indeed.com had a job opening for a manufacturing engineer making bowling machines.
By golly, you did it.
My goodness.
And we're back.
So yeah, here we are.
Nice.
It's been probably the best job I've ever had.
Cool. Thinking to stay there for. I mean, yeah, I talked to you. I know you're.
If I could retire there, that'd be sick.
Nice.
It's it's not like people think engineers make a shit ton of money. I don't really think that's necessarily the case. It's not horrible pay, it's good pay. But this job specifically, I make good enough money. I could probably make more money working for a lot of other companies around Richmond. But this job is just, it's just perfect. It's exactly what I want to do. I spend 50% of my time at my desk making phone calls, designing stuff, 50% out on the floor.
That's pretty cool.
Welding stuff, putting my stuff into action. So,
and it's close to your house too, right?
Yeah, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. It's not a bad gig.
From where I live, I could not be a manufacturing engineer anywhere closer.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, true. You do, yeah. You got a good point there. And do you get pretty good like PTO and sick pay? Because you travel? You went out of the country like year?
Yes.
For like 2 weeks? 3?
Yeah, what was it? I guess it was, so it was before my son was born.
That's right, yeah. So
he was born in 2024 this year.
Okay. Last.
So yeah, we were talking about as like, we're holding our little baby boy 2 weeks after he's born, and we're like, we were literally in Europe a year ago.
That's nuts. That's so cool.
It is pretty amazing. Yeah, I went to Europe, went to London, and I see France. I see London. I see France.
You did. You better not. Good looking. But no, that's cool. Yeah, so good. Gonna backtrack real quick. So at your job, good benefits, close to home. You think you're gonna retire there? Good PTO.
I could.
Yeah, that rules.
And I have a great boss. Shout out Troy. He's the man. Like I said, Troy was my coworker. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Jason.
Jason got hired on full time beginning of 2023.
Good deal.
Yeah.
He was working and going back to school for his engineering. Like he was working there while he was getting his engineering degree, right?
Yeah. Jason got a psych degree and then didn't do psych with it, and it was like,
I sell stuff.
maybe I should do something else. Well, I think Jason was working at a bowling alley, actually. Funny enough.
Nice. Funny enough.
Where
did you get the idea from?
Something deep inside of him said, you need to work at bowling.
Do you bowl outside, like in your free time? I mean, I know we've bowled before, but are you an avid bowler, would you say?
I am not an avid bowler. I like bowling. It's fun. It's not my passion.
Yeah.
It's not that, it's not one of my 300 hobbies that I
spend
lots of time and money on.
Yeah.
It is. I do have, so in my department, we've got Troy, my boss, was my coworker. And then I have 3 other coworkers, Calvin, Jason, and Dayron. So Troy hates bowling.
Okay.
Calvin is ambivalent on bowling.
Nice.
Jason used to be in leagues and worked at a bowling alley, and Aaron is currently in bowling leagues.
Right on.
So
that
there's definitely.
I can see him being a bowling guy.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why.
He's a bowler.
Something about him, yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, you got 2 guys that are like, did bowling as their hobby, were in leagues to bowl.
Yeah.
And one guy that hates it, and 2 guys that are like, yeah, bowling's fun.
Nice. Did his family get killed by a bowling ball, or why does Troy hate bowling?
A guy that hate bowling is a strong word.
His family was murdered in the alleyway.
It's just like Bruce Wayne.
Just like Batman. Yeah, an alleyway, but it was a different alley.
It was a bowling alley.
Bowling alley. That's good. Comedy, we got there. That's what we were trying to get.
I think he would just rather do about anything else on a Friday night,
Yeah.
Which, fair. Like I said, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I like it. Well, actually, my wife and I's first date was bowling.
Nice. That's pretty good. That's exciting.
It's amazing. My life, all these people that I work with, their lives revolve around bowling. Please like bowling and go bowl a lot.
This man's career depends on it.
Thank you.
Bowling industry. Thank you for supporting our engineers in bowling.
Our boys in red.
Oh man, what was I just gonna ask? Something about bowling alleys. I was just gonna tell a story about the last time I went bowling. It was not the last time, but one of the times I went bowling most recently. I have never been good at bowling. It had been probably 2 or 3 years before. Like my last time, I went bowling over the summer, but before that, it had been like 2 or 3 years before.
Sure.
And I went on a first date with a girl, and I, again, hadn't been bowling in years. Didn't know I was good at it. I crushed her. Like it was like strike after strike after strike. Like it was. I think it was like the actual score was like 220 something to like 50.
Dude,
it was ridiculous. Like I've never been that good at bowling, and I've never been that good at bowling since that date. Also, never saw her after that date. So
wonder why.
I crushed her in bowling. All right. So what were we talking about? Travel. We were talking. So you got a lot of PTO with your job, and you traveled to UK and France. Do you have time to keep talking about that?
Let's see. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So you went. Yeah. So is that the first time you've been out of the? Not the first time you've been out of the country, but is that like the biggest trip?
For sure, my biggest trip. So other than that, I've been on like went for 2 weeks to spent 1 week London for the most part, and 1 week in Paris. And man, I think that it's a pretty amazing time that we live in as human beings. There's a lot of people that have not been able to travel outside their hometown for the past 100,000 years. So it's a pretty amazing time to live in. I gotta count myself. Yeah, it is mind-boggling. But traveling is one of the supreme experiences of the modern human experience.
Yeah, and you can't I was actually just thinking about this the other day. You can't. 100 years ago, people like if it was us 100 years ago, we probably wouldn't have gone with like out of 100 miles outside of our home. You know what I mean? Does that sentence make sense?
No, 100%.
You get what I'm trying to say.
And the fact that like I would say in terms of like walkable globe, I mean easily 80% of it is easily accessible by us humans right now.
Oh yeah, now definitely.
Within a few hours of an airport, it's just amazing that we live in this time. So
it is. Now it'll cost you some money.
Sure,
but you can.
That's why we work.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't work to. We don't live to work. We work to live.
Yes, 100%. That is. I know that. I know there's a podcast about jobs, but I hate working. I hate work. You know, I don't do it at all. I do it so I can do stuff like this. So I don't have to work 24/7, so that I can do things. You have and travel and do stuff like that. So
once again, 3 years ago, you
they work
live to work.
Yeah.
And so if you have the chance to travel, this is one of the very exclusive times that you would be able to do that kind of thing.
Throughout all of history.
Appreciate it and take advantage of it. But anyway, so yeah, I love my job and I like doing it, but it's because of that job that I get to do cool things like travel.
True. And have a family.
And have a family. That helps.
Cool.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. It's pretty cool to be able to, like I was talking about, 1 year before my son was 2 weeks old, I was in London chilling.
That's rad.
It is very
The
rad.
fact that you and your wife had that conversation too is like, that's so cool. And it's something you got to experience together too.
Yep.
Which is the coolest thing.
It is pretty amazing. So if anybody gets the opportunity to go to Europe specifically, just because that's the only thing I can specifically speak to, highly recommend it. If you live, so I live about maybe 2 miles from a pretty significant Civil War battlefield. So 150 years ago, like I got 150 years of history sitting 2 miles from my house.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's cool. Just go on a walk through there with my wife sometimes. Dude, come out.
Yeah. I'd like to come out there and do that. Let's do that.
It is awesome.
All right.
But that is a brand new place in terms of the world and some of the history. I was absolutely blown away going to both the UK and France.
Yeah.
It was
shocking how old stuff is. Like this bar is from the year 10.
Right.
Like that's for real though. Like they have bars super old. Like
there was a town that we did a bus tour. We went to some cool Bath, very cool town that we went to. Very cool history.
Bath, France.
Sorry, this is in the UK.
Okay.
So Bath is a very cool town. We also went to Windsor Castle. You can't quite understand decadence until you see one of these castles. They've got just beautiful artistry, excess, and it's amazing.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just gonna, you said excess and like with the royalty and like Windsor Castle, and I sent it jokingly, like I sent a joke text to my sister the other day, and I was like, I was thinking about all of, I tend to think about all of human history a lot. So I sent my sister a text, just kind of joking around, and I was like, hey, you know how like we have ancestors, throughout all of human time, like who came from somewhere? I don't know all their stuff, Where's all their stuff? We should have a lot of stuff. Arguably, my grandfather, who's the oldest, like he's the patriarch.
The patriarch.
He should have a lot of stuff, right? He should have all of our family's stuff from before him. Where's all our stuff? Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Those guys. I'm just saying. We came from peasants. I think might be the issue. But those guys, they've got stuff still.
Yeah.
I want stuff. I want a Windsor Castle. I want my stuff.
Yeah. Funny, one of the places that we went to in the UK, I'm not sure if I'm doxing my family, but my wife's maiden name is Lucy, and her father, my father-in-law, he found out that there is a Lucy Castle. I don't remember what the actual name of the it's technically like a national park for them. I don't remember what the term was. But there are still members of the Lucy family living there.
Oh wow.
That
a royal park.
Yeah, that are my wife's relatives.
What?
So we got
to
to go
live
there.
in the castle?
Yeah, they lived in the castle, so we got to tour.
Sick.
The part that's open to the public.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. So
did he tell them, like, hey, we're...
Yeah, we talked to one of the guys, and like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then he was like, hey, can we talk to our cousins? And we're like, no.
That's crazy. But what if they were like, come on in, and then they were like somehow really
like, oh, well, now you're in the will.
Yeah. But what if like you're in England and then you went over there and they're like, well, hey there, cuz, come on in. You're like, wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
But anyway, yeah. So that's that. There's definitely some people that have that. There's a very select few people that have the stuff from their millions and millions of.
Oh my! Got my stuff out there.
I hope you find it.
Thank you.
But
give me back.
That bus tour, Bath, Windsor Castle, and then we ended in this town. I don't remember what the town was called. If you weren't British, it was a name that sounded like vaguely suggestive. I'll remember it sometime.
Okay.
But in the town. The newest
Cliffs
building.
of Bend Over.
So the newest building in that town was built in like the 70s.
Older than
basically older than the United States of America. Yes, it was mind-boggling, and I drank a cask ale in a pub from the 1300s or something like that.
That is so cool.
It was amazing.
That is insane. History is fascinating to me, and the fact. Yeah, like just being able to walk around. The fact that you had a casket of ale is what you said?
Cask ale.
Cask ale.
Sorry, I'm a beer douche, so.
Oh, yeah.
A tapped beer and a cask beer.
A whole nother episode on that.
Yeah, man.
I have so many questions and I don't know anything. That's the thing. That's the joy.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's the joy about podcasting is I don't know anything and I can just ask questions.
Honestly, me neither.
Just
one of those things where the more you know, you realize the less you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another thing I've realized as I've gotten older is that I know nothing. I know.
It's a beautiful place to be.
It really is.
Isn't that blissful ignorance?
It's pretty great. I came to terms with the fact that I don't know anything and I can't. I don't know anything and I'm fine with that. That's what I'm trying to say.
This is that learn we were talking about. You like learning about this, archaic, or not archaic necessarily, but this very specific stuff that, my manufacturing engineering and beer and whatever,
Maybe no one else will care, but I do.
Learning about that stuff, it's cool.
Exactly.
But anyway, if you're a kid sitting in one of those millions of kids sitting in your home listening to this podcast, traveling is one of the supreme joys of our age. So if you get the chance, do it. It's worth money, it's worth the time, and the sense of scale that you get from going to somewhere like Europe or somewhere like Japan.
Yeah.
A culture that is different than yours is amazing.
That's one thing Americans need to do is travel. I know it's easy for us to get on our high horse and say, you need to travel. But, I mean, you got to do it because the world is a really, really big place. And there are a lot of different cultures and, history, everything is so intertwined and so, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But everything is very intertwined and everything is for a reason. And history repeats itself too. And,
1,000 years ago, if you saw someone else's culture you'd never seen before, chances are that whatever your ruler was going to destroy it. So
true.
Now we get to go and enjoy it.
Yeah, you can experience it. You don't have to.
It is amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we can talk for hours about culture and how cool the places are. What's that, like eight or nine different new podcasts we have, episodes we have? I can be, I don't know if you've ever seen Pat McAfee's, his daily podcast show on ESPN, but he has this one guy that, with him named AJ Hawk. And every time I see a clip from the Pat McAfee show, AJ Hawk is sitting there in his little like library, books behind everything, and he just kind of like nodding along. I'm not sure if I've ever heard him say a word. He's just, that guy. Yeah. Okay.
For 4-ish years, we're our group of friends Dungeon Master. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons together.
I miss it so much, man.
How long? Well, let me ask you. How long did we play for that total? Like, you think? Not just when you were the DM, but with Jason too.
Sure. Yeah. We started in the spring of 20. No, we started at the beginning of the year of 2019.
Because I was with Bree. Because I was driving from Newport News to.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So sometime in 2019, we started D&Ding, and
before you cut out, there's a point to this. Hold on. I do too, actually. And we're back. Okay. So Dungeons and Dragons. We're talking about that, and I brought that up because you were our Dragon Master, our Dungeon Master, which means that you pretty much you created the world. And you did a lot of the story. There's a story. Dungeons and Dragons is basically, you have, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I don't know what we're doing.
Dungeons and Dragons has taken a lot of different forms. It started out as just more like war games, but fantasy. But now it's so much more. It really is just you and your friends diving in and experiencing a world together, whether it's something pre-made, something that somebody made up.
It's like crafting. It's you're crafting a story together, kind of.
Yes,
where
100%.
The DM is like the author in a way of the story, and then the players play the characters in the story.
Sure.
That's a pretty good. Now we got there. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's imagine if you had a bunch of instead of just one guy writing a book, me the DM. There's 6 of us.
We're all dumb.
I make the outline, and everyone else just does whatever the hell they want. And it is such a cool experience. Dungeons and Dragons in the past has been, I don't know what the word is. Has been
vilified
and lambasted.
Actually, for real, in the 80s, the Satanic Panic. Everyone thought Dungeons and Dragons was satanic. So take that.
A lot of people will hear something and run with it. That's a different podcast, but
sure.
Yeah, really, what it is, it's definitely different from a lot of other hobbies where instead of participating in the hobby, you make the hobby. It is you and your friends crafting something together. It's existing in a world different from the one that you live in. So reading is another leave this world that you're in and experience a different one.
In your head.
That someone else made. This, you are collaborating together and making you get to change and you get to shape. Just from your brain. It's not a structured thing like a book. It's just existing. There's rules.
Yeah.
But it's really more about just instead of just hanging out and doing something that is maybe something not everyone enjoys or just running through the motions. It's something that you get to create with your friends. It's a pretty special thing.
It's pretty great. I wanted to ask you about it because you got the credit for making the world and all different religions and all that in the last campaign we played, which went for 3-4 years, something like that.
3 years, yeah.
3 years. So you created that whole world, and I wanted to know if you. Have you taken that creative outlet, that writing? Have you been working on any other stories or any other D&D campaigns or anything like that? That you're maybe want to do with Atlas one day or something like that?
Oh man,
that'd be so cool.
I cannot wait to share that sort of creative outlet with my son. It's gonna be amazing, and that's gonna happen one day. And you're definitely gonna be involved, whether you like it or not.
I'm in.
But it's definitely something that it's hard for that to just kind of. Whatever creative thing I didn't realize I had that was in there that made me create that world, it didn't just sit totally dormant. I actually did write the first chapter and some change of a book.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
You've been writing a
I
book?
started
Like an
writing
actual, not a D&D campaign, but a book?
A physical book, yeah.
Oh shit, cool.
It's, like I said, it is
No, let's talk about it.
just the first chapter. It's very, I would say, like classical fantasy. Not necessarily high fantasy, but like classical, I don't know,
Arthur.
and orcs and very, very Tolkien style inspired fantasy.
That rules.
And, you know, I had a burst of creative energy at one point.
This
I
is
wrote a chapter.
awesome. I'm glad I asked you about this.
Yeah.
That's sick. For the record, I didn't know this. Cool.
Yeah, it's something that it's something I have very ADHD, and I will find a new hobby and I'll do it for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll become
podcasting.
Exactly. I'll become fully addicted to it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years, like D&D.
Yeah.
And I'll just burst. I find that passion, that something within me just needs to do these things. And I wrote that first chapter, and I've written a little bit since then. I'm going to finish it. This is not just some little thing I'm doing. I'm going to finish it.
How long ago did you write that first chapter?
I want to say I was probably... Atlas was pretty...
Oh, so it was
pretty
within the last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, I was up at all hours of the night, not knowing what to do. But my son was crying. I mean, I was taking care of him. And Amber at one point was like, "Hey, you ever thought about writing a book?" And I was like, a lot of that is someone suggesting to me, "You ever thought about doing this?" I'm like, "No, but now I will devote my that."
Now that you mention it.
So yeah, she was like, "You ever thought about writing a book?" And I was like, "I haven't really thought of it, but maybe I could." And then, like just like that, the idea started coming, and I wrote my first chapter. It's probably like 20 pages worth, 15 pages worth of like chapter 1 of a book.
It's a good sized book.
Yeah, it's a little chapter. Just a chapter. Chapter 1. Yeah,
Nice.
It's a little intro. So it's gonna be a trilogy.
Cool. We got plans. This is exciting.
Yeah, there won't be super big fantasy epics like Brandon Sanderson does, but a lot of inspiration from him.
Cool.
But it's one of those when I never realized that creative energy was in there until I did D&D, and you know I created this world, and you guys helped me build it. So
that's kind of what brought it out of me too. I've also been wanting to write a book, and that's cool that you're doing that. Yeah, you're actually doing it. I need to get on that. You're inspiring me.
Oh heck yeah!
That was when you did your campaign. I remember like I wanted to write and like do my own campaign and story. You inspired me to do that. So yeah, that's cool. All right, man. Well, want to wrap it up? We've been talking for 2 hours now.
That's a good amount of time. Yeah, we got several more podcasts ahead of us, I'm sure.
We can do this again.
But man, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me out.
Absolutely, anytime. This will grow and evolve and change, I'm sure, over time. And we'll do this again. So, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, dude.